Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and my fellow panel members. I'm not going to get into the thing of introducing the panel members because each of them are in their own right done pretty well, and the way we're going to conduct this session, this topic is real, and it is a challenge which today many managements are not accepting. And if you're not going to accept it, the point is that either you change or you perish. And that is the kind of message that I would like to leave behind to you as you will listen to the different speakers who are going to cover various parts of this topic. But the fact that one has dealt with a number of people and have been in the domain where we have seen technology come and disrupt the way we work. I'm from the consulting field, and I can tell you one thing: the consulting field is going to be disrupted like never before. We are now discussing in our own global organization as to whether the current accounting firms will continue to be the auditors or will Google become the auditor. So I think the way life is changing, way machine learning is changing, life is completely changed, and we cannot be accepting that life is going to continue the way it is, because artificial intelligence, machine learning is coming and taking over a lot of our lives. People ask me, technology has always been there, so why are you getting so excited about it, and why are you talking about it? But I can tell you the pace of change which is happening now has never been witnessed before. The pace of change that we are having now has never been witnessed before, and this is creating something what we call the new normal. It's creating something that we call the new way of doing things, and also accepting the fact that we have to change. And you change from the top. The first place that you need to change is the top management has to accept that they need to change, and the organization has to become, you don't want to become a Kodak. Kodak was the person who actually introduced the first digital camera, and then they found it too tedious and they thought it will never work. They never changed, they continued the film, and you see where Kodak is today. So we don't want, and this is exactly what is going to happen to a lot of industries. So if you think that you're sitting in a brick and mortar industry, you're sitting in an industry which is, you think, secured, that is where the disruption is going to take place, and it's going to take place, like I said, as something which has never been witnessed before. So the way I look at this whole thing is that if I just want to quote Jack Welch: change before you have to. And it's always good to change before, so you can be well prepared and you can understand what you need to change. But you cannot continue in the constant kind of way in which we work today. And if we look at the way, I give you the Kodak example, there are many more examples. You take Nokia, which was dominating. If I'd maybe 10 years, 15 years back, I'd asked in this room how many people have a Nokia phone. I think all hands would have gone up. Today, if I ask anybody's got a Nokia phone, I'm not sure any hand will go up. So I think the point is, we need to understand as to what is going to change and how managements respond to it. I would also give an example of Victronics, which suffered during the 9/11 crisis. They make their biggest product was those knives they make, Victronics, the Swiss knives. And where were they selling it? At airports. Suddenly 9/11 came, you cannot carry anything on the plane. Their business fell 40%. Never in the history of the company have they ever got rid of even one employee because of business. They decided to change. Today, if you go to a Victronics shop, what do you buy? You buy watches, you buy bags, because what they realized, their strength was precision engineering. And if we can use these skills, what we put into making these knives onto different products, and the company completely turns on its head to become something different. I think that is what organizations, leaders will need to look at and say, how do you actually bring this change about in, taking it to the next level? And when we talk of change, so what, when we go and hire people, I can say for this thing that in KPMG, when we hire, in India, we got about 12,000 people, and each of them are I mean, there are different generations in that group. And you just look at a manager, or you look at a senior manager or a partner, if he has to manage this group, he has to manage very different skill sets, very different expectations of different people, how they're going to work, what kind of policies, what kind of HR policies you need to put in place. So I think the importance for managers is to actually basically first understand that they're dealing with different types of people. And there's nothing wrong. Each one have their own style. They come from a very different, and lot of it is got to do with technology. How do you marry people and technology together? How do you harmonize the working of these two to get the best for the organization, best for the people, and best for everybody who's going to be for the customer, for everybody. So today, all the innovation that is taking place in life, innovation that is taking place is basically saying, how do you get that product at the best price to the customer? How do you be able to give that service at the best price to the customer? And we can see it because in a connected world, we know that you cannot bring rules and regulations that will not, because you're so connected today. I mean, today we try to put in policies for retail that you cannot come and do retail business in India. I mean, that was originally there, now it's changed. What happened? E-commerce came in. It completely disrupted the model. It completely disrupted the model, and all these e-commerce companies are owned by foreign companies. So you can call yourself a portal, you can call yourself what, but you are actually, so the way, and the new banks today, when we talk of the new banks, are they banks? Are they technology companies? What are these e-commerce companies? Are they logistics companies? Are they technology companies? Are they retailers? What are they? So I think the sectors also are actually coming together. They are also merging, and one is not understanding where that sector begins and where the sector ends. So if we go by the traditional definition of sectors, I think we will be at our wits' end in trying to explain what we are. Today, if you look at the whole banking industry, which has gone through a big technology revolution, we've got these new payment banks which have come in, these new payment gateways. Actually, in many ways, if you ask me, India is pretty ahead with our UPI. I mean, we would be one of the first few countries in the world which would be actually adopting, and you will actually take out so much of cost out of the system. You will take out time out of the system. So it's not about making the change. I think the important point is, success will be measured by the person who makes the change fast, the first mover advantage, who will innovate, who will take that risk of saying that this is the way I'm going to go. We were discussing the other day, GST is coming in, okay, and 3D printing is coming on the other side. So what do you tax? Who do you tax? When do you tax? When is the final delivery made? Because you're printing, there's going to be no big factories. I mean, you're going to print at the source where you need it. The product is ready. What about the design? Where do you cost it? I mean, there are so many complications coming in today's world. This new technology is also creating its own complications. And I don't think, and it's always been there, regulations will keep pace with all the changes that take place. But at the moment, we are confronting some real life changes that are taking place in our own daily lives as we see. Job disruptions. Earlier, who was losing their jobs? It was all the blue-collar workers. So we were pretty okay. We were the white-collar workers. We had no problem. Nobody will come and take away our jobs. But today, this disruption is going to impact the white-collar worker. It's going to impact you and me. It's going to impact us the way we work. We were talking earlier with the panel members and saying that, we keep talking of skilling. And first of all, are people skilled? Now we should be talking of upskilling, we should be talking of reskilling, retooling our people, because jobs don't necessarily need to be lost. But if you have seen from statistics, these big debates happening on television, India is having a jobless growth, or the job growth is not as much as the growth shown in the GDP, and is this going to be the way life is going to carry on? So how do you actually get, and all these people coming into the work environment, how do you actually provide jobs to them? And I think this is not a problem that can be solved by the government. This is not a problem that can be solved by the business. I think it is time that the government, business, and civil society come together and understand this is a big challenge. How do we deal with this issue? And how do we provide gainful employment to all the people who are coming in? So entrepreneurship becomes very important in such cases where entrepreneurs come in, because if I take a job, I get one person is employed, but if I create a business, then I employ people. I can employ 5 people, I can employ 20 people. So entrepreneurship is going to be a big area which needs to be looked at. So I think the importance that we need to give to understand this issue that is facing us today is where all the different panel members are going to come and speak. But I just thought I'll set the tone by talking of how do we look at it from an industry perspective. And I will just like to leave few points, for everybody to listen, everybody to understand what I gained from my personal experience of leading a consulting firm in India and also being on the global board of KPMG. I think the first thing that we need to do is listen to the front line. Listen to the people who are dealing with your customers or dealing with your suppliers. What are they saying? What is changing in the market? I mean, today if you sit at home and you don't go to the shops, you don't know what are the new things, the products that have come into the market. And if you have not gone for 2-3 months, you'll be surprised the amount of new things that are there available, which you are not even aware of because you're used to buying a particular product, or there is a new way of doing certain things. So I think listening to your employees will be a very helpful thing, because then you will be able to understand what changes are happening in the ecosystem where you work. Secondly, I think the most important point which people miss is how do we deal with the middle management. The middle management is caught between their superiors and they're caught between the youngsters who are coming in. And they're dealing with 2 different sets of people who have a very, very different thinking. How do you actually galvanize this middle management? Making through inspiration, how do you make them, there, shifting their mindset, training them on soft skills, and bringing in, articulating what the future is, envisioning, creating a vision into them. Because if you don't create a vision of where you want to go, planning, and the most important is, how are you implementing the change? We know, at least statistics have proved, there are enough reports which say that change management, whenever it's implemented anywhere, the failure rate is between 50 to 75%. That is what the failure rate is for all change management programs that take place. But the point is, it is costly, but we still need to go through it. It needs to be well planned. There needs to be accountability matrix made out, and there needs to be a good implementation plan as to how we do it. Because if we don't do it, and secondly, we have to go beyond our functional expertise. We need to become cross-functional. Earlier, I remember I used to tell, when I used to stand up before in my firm and talk to people, I said, you need to reinvent yourself every 3 years. I think I'll take back my words. I think we have to reinvent ourselves maybe every month or much faster. I don't know what that pace is, but 3 years is just too long. You'll be history. So I was very proud. I was saying 3 years, and people thought 3 years was too fast to keep changing yourself. But I can tell you, you don't want to become irrelevant, because if you're irrelevant, nobody's going to employ you. You can have whatever big history you have, what a great person you may be, but you got to be relevant to the place where you're going to work. So I think middle management is some very important place where we should concentrate on. Secondly is knowing the organizational priorities, very important, because if we know the organizational priorities, we need to get the buy-in of people right across the organization. You need to do a due diligence, because some idea may look very good, but if you don't actually do a due diligence on it, and what is the end use? Is it easy to use, or is it going to be difficult to implement? And then you need to think about it, and you have to identify the risks which come with it. So I think these are very, very important, because once you articulate everything, then you'll be able to put the roadmap together. So I think I will stop here with the quote from John F. Kennedy. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. He said this in 1963, and we are living in a very different generation, but I think the words still ring true even in today's world. And now I will request my next panel member, Mr. Amarnath Jhan, who's the CEO of the State Skill Development Mission, Government of Jharkhand. He gave me a very important point. We keep saying government, government wants to bring in change. So he actually made a point and said, I'm from the private sector. I'm now coming and supporting the government. So this is the change that is taking place in the government also. Things are slow, but they are happening, and we will listen from him as to what the Jharkhand Council is doing in this regard. Thank you very much.
Honorable fellow panelists, distinguished guests, members of the media, and ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here in front of you from Jharkhand. This is a very important subject that we are talking about, and it is said, if you always do what you have always done, you will always get what you have always got. So if you want to get different result, we'll have to do things different. Jharkhand has been a new state, relatively 28th state, formed in 2000 only, 15 November. But, and it's a mineral-rich state. The development in absolute terms hasn't been very great, but the pace or the speed of development has really caught up. And since we are talking about change, and we are talking in a skilling domain, I'll be talking about how Jharkhand has taken this change in its stride, and how we are talking about the scale and speed and all that. So how Jharkhand has taken this in the skilling domain, this change, scale, speed and all. So I'll just take you through, because I thought it would be better you can visualize something what we are doing rather than just talking. So I have few slides to share with you. In the skilling leadership, like in all corporate or industries or any other domain, the change now is going to come from innovation, which Richard also said. It is the innovation, it is the innovative ideas which is going to change the world now. Talk about whether it's a taxi aggregator or a food aggregator or a medicine aggregator. The need was there, but is the innovation which brought this in the form of a successful business. So even in skilling domain, the innovation is going to bring that change, and the state or the society which is going to adopt that innovation is going to lead the country or lead the world. Leadership is going to come from scale, as I said, speed and standards, quality standards. It's good to have a small grocery shop, but then you have a platform where you can buy and sell anything. And all those companies who are doing it, making it a successful business all over the world. The speed that you grow, because there will be competition, there are bottlenecks, but the speed that you can achieve is really going to take you to the leadership position. The demand, because now it's not only the supply or a glut of supply which is going to win, it is the people, the society or the institution which is going to meet the demand of the people, meet the demand of its target audience, customer, is what going to make one successful. And I'll just briefly talk about the EQ, that there is efficiency, effectiveness and excellence that we are using in all our activities. Jharkhand is poised to make that change. The first change is myself. in Jharkhand. I'm not a career bureaucrat. I come from industry, I come from corporate. I worked in India, I worked in abroad, half of my life in India, half of my life abroad. But Jharkhand has brought me into the skilling domain to take the various programs forward with speed and to a scale. And that's why I'm here with the Jharkhand Skill Development Mission. Now, even our national agenda, if you see, for skilling domain, the national vision is talking about the scale and the speed and the standard of skilling. It is talking of large scale, if you see, at speed with high standards and a culture of innovation. Innovation-based entrepreneurship. It is not a typical government job that's going to make all the people in this country employee. So entrepreneurship is key to that. And we in Jharkhand we are focused on that. So in line with the national vision, Jharkhand also has its vision. Jharkhand Skill Development Mission has got a vision to catalyze that skill development initiative. Means to generate that speed. What catalyst does is increase the speed of the reaction, right? So our role is to catalyze that skilling activities that's going on in Jharkhand. We are talking of empowering the people of Jharkhand to make them entrepreneurs, and equipping them with industry-demanded skills, not the skills which we should, but not the skills that is demanded by the industry now. Customize it to suit the end product or the end result. And then we are trying to give a livelihood, because you will see where we stand. We as a state, though the pace is high, in absolute terms, our economy is not that great. So if you see where we stand in terms of skilling, we are nearly at the bottom, with just 2.1% people in the age group of 15 to 59 who have gone through the vocational training. And there are states which is 42.5%. Indian average is about 11.7 in the age group of 15 to 59 now. So we are nearly at the bottom of the pyramid. And you will see that we are almost on the decline of, if you draw a curve, we are on the bottom. But we do not want to be there. Jharkhand does not want to be there. The next few slides that you will see will be all going upwards. We are trying to take Jharkhand to the leadership role in skilling domain as well. We have our own constraints, we have our own bottlenecks, and we are trying to overcome that. 76% of the population in Jharkhand is rural. Many of our districts, except a few, nearly all our districts, are LWE affected. Tough to go to the villages and get them to the mainstream, train them, and make them employable. We are taking our skill development centers to the rural areas, to the LWE affected areas, and bring those children from 18 to 35 age group into the mainstream. We have a good number of ladies or women who want to work. In women in Jharkhand, you will find they are very sincere, committed, hard-working ladies, and they want to work. So we are running several courses, which is going to make them employable. The only difficulty that comes is when they have to migrate, when they have to go out of the state. That's a difficulty that we are facing, but we are trying to overcome that with institutional support. Our economic profile. As you will see in this chart, there are some sectors like our industrial sector or even our agriculture sector, the growth is moderate, but the services sector is doing very well. And so our trades or our sectors are aligned to the economic profile of the state. So you will see that even the courses like IT, ITS, beauty and wellness, retail, or BFSI or hospitality are doing much better, and the demand is much more than typical mining and quarrying and agriculture. So we are also adopting ourselves to the aspirations of the people there. Coming to our programs. Our flagship program is Saksham Jharkhand Kausal Vikas Yojana. And you can see that we have a huge program, and at speed, like this year itself, we want to have 100 centers. And it's just not a dream. 86 centers are already running in the state. And we will easily catch up this year, 100 centers. But within 3 years, next 2 years, we want to go to 150. So we want to catch up with speed. We want to have centers in all the remote areas, in the local villages, in the blocks and district level. There are about 44 training service providers who are already in panel with us and actively managing the programs. There are 321 batches. There are about 10,000 students. They are already enrolled with us and undergoing those programs now. But what we have observed is that some of the students or some of the beneficiaries, they do not want, or they go and there are dropouts in a smaller centers. If they go to a commercial place, a shopping center where a skill development center is running, there are 1 or 2 classes, they drop. There's a large number of dropout. They are not sure whether these people are going to give me jobs. They are going to make me employed. So we realize that. This is why there is so much of a dropout. We did consider that, the aspirations of the people is to go to a larger university, bigger colleges. So what we have done is we are opening up this year itself about 24 mega skill centers. And mega skill centers are centers which are having more than about 15,000 square feet of area, about 5,000 students going through the skill development programs in the state. And to accelerate that program, to accelerate this mega skill center scheme, we had, that's where innovation comes, is we had the government polytechnics, we were building that. And we thought about that these polytechnics are 3-year course, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. That's how the students will come in and the capacity will get filled in. So we are offering 9 of those centers to those training partners. We are asking them that, okay, in a PPP mode, you run those polytechnics. We are providing you the space. And then we will have 1 year or a 2-year time before the polytechnic gets completely filled in. We are offering that infrastructure. We are offering those facilities to those training service providers. And they can run bigger programs in those polytechnics. And in the meantime, we'll have 1 or 2 years breathing space where we can build those aspirational larger centers. And this is going to happen this month itself. About 5 of them is going to open, but by year end we will have 24 of those. But then with speed, like This 24 will go to 50. We will have 50 mega skill centers in the state, larger one, aspirational ones, to meet the demand, because from 2.1% we have a long way to go. And we want to catch up fast. We also have a program of commercial driving, vehicle driving schools. We have a plan to open about 25 of these centers, driving centers, and NSDC and Jharkhand skill development with the private training service providers. We are going to run that. There will be about 4,000 students undergoing that training. We will have 25 of them, so about 1 lakh people will get trained for those commercial driving, commercial vehicle driving. But the demand is very high. There is a requirement of about 69 lakh drivers by 2022. And we want to train 1 lakh at least from Jharkhand every year. And for a 10-year program, we'll provide 10 lakh drivers. Because the people out there are very sincere, very committed, very hardworking. And it is the opportunity that we have to provide, the employability skills that we have to provide. Right. As I said before, what we are doing, we want to do with a goal of EQ, which is effective, efficient, and excellent. Effective means if our skilled person is competent, he should be able to do the things right first time. No need of wastages, no need of defects, no need of rework. We are talking about efficient, means doing it right in time. When our people are employed, when they go to the industry, they have to do the right jobs right in time, reducing the inventory, reducing the time. So they have to do the things in an efficient manner, and not only doing right in time or right first time, but doing right every time and better than last time. So we want to make them excellent. We want to create an ecosystem in Jharkhand whereby the people are known for their trades. I was in Dubai, I worked there. If you are in Dubai and if you look for a barber, maybe he will have to be from Bangladesh. If you look for a driver, maybe he has to be a Pakistani or somebody from Kerala. So there are nations which are known for their specific trades. And we want to be identified like that. If they want to hire 5,000 drivers, come to Jharkhand and hire it. So we want to impart that quality, that standard. So that's the goal that we are working to. As I said, we want to create some quality standards. Now, in the skill ecosystem, there are some innovative ways we are doing. We have found that we have scarcity of trainers, quality trainers. Jharkhand is starting a TOT academy, Training of Trainers Academy, in collaboration with ITE Singapore. We will soon have a center of excellence, which is going to do the innovative work in the skilling domain in the state and improve the whole quality, whole ecosystem of the state in terms of skilling. And we are working with ITE Singapore and various other countries for that. We also want to introduce some state-specific skills and curriculum. And we are talking to Australia, we are talking to Singapore, we are talking to Germany, and we are having their experts and we are working on those specific skills and improve the quality of the ecosystem as such. So there are various innovative things that's going on to catch up to the aspiration of the state where we want to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Jha. Can I request Mr. Indrajit Bhattacharya to share his views with us?
Good afternoon, distinguished panelists and distinguished delegates. I thank the organizers for calling me here to speak about today's presentation. I do not have a formal presentation. I'll just give a few pointers. So I come from Quality Council of India, and it has an adage of creating an ecosystem for quality. In 1997, Quality Council of India got conceptualized, and it is into PPP, that is, it formed through industry associations, which is ASSOCHAM, FICCI, and CII, along with the government under Department of Industrial Production. So we have our chairman today as Mr. Adil Zainul Bhai, who is ex-McKinsey, and through the ecosystem we are trying to create across over 30 government ministries. We are trying to create a change. I'll stick my talk to the areas which is into skilling. So what we are is into skill training, into smart NSDC, into skill certification, and into business membership organization, which is industry associations. So to start off with skill training, we were entrusted by Ministry of Labor. Today that program is being held by Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. From 2012 to 2016, we were entrusted to do accreditation of industrial training institutes in the country. At that point of time, there were a lot of issues which were there in the industrial training institutes, and a lot of work was being done. The evaluation was being done by state government and through paperwork. So a lot of cumbersome process went through it, because in the skilling space, it was quite equipment intensive. So when this work was entrusted to QCI, we went through paperless transactions. That is, the entire lot of these documents were ITized and given to us. And QCI did third-party accreditation. And in this period from 2012 to 2016, we have done over 6,500 ITIs were accredited. And finally, it was affiliated through NCVT and of MSDE today. So what went through this? A lot of changes happened, and a lot of change have yet to happen. So currently, a lot of quality improvements have happened with third-party certification of assessors, which went through QCI, wherein QCI did a 4-stage process of desktop assessment, of site assessment, and of accreditation committee assessment before it went to the NCVT committee. So currently, we are again in a reconciliation of department MSDE and NCVT. It is going on a corrective phase, and QCI on our part have gone more and adopted technologies, and now we are going for mobile assessments. We are geared up for mobile assessments, so that mobile assessments will help in geotagging and geostamping, so that the assessment becomes more effective and efficient. The other vertical that we have is the SMART, which stands for Skill Development and Accreditation of Training Centers of Sector Skill Councils, which was given, which is the MSDE NSDC project. NSDC head was here, Jhan Krishna, with the mission of assessing over 12,000 skill centers across India. In just its 8 months launch, QCI's assessors have assessed over 8,000 skill centers on the parameters which have been set by MSDE. The aim of the project is to provide the skill training to trainers to ensure the demand for skilled workforce is met inside the country, as well as ensure self-employability amongst the youth. QCI is providing the quality assessment of training centers in ensuring skill development is built around the country in more conducive and comprehensive manner, in order to ensure that the skilling is provided in the finest possible way. QCI is focusing on maintaining quality of training centers by way of inspection and continuous monitoring. So today we have almost 5,000 centers with a capacity of skilling 8,58,000 students, which have already been recommended for accreditation to the various sector skill council. And the maximum activity which is happening in the following sectors are following, which is electronics, apparel, made up home furnishing, retail, beauty and wellness, telecom, ITS, and logistics. So the scale and nature of the skills in India is unprecedented, and there is no proven management technique that we deliver a skilled India. Establishing a standard assessment platform for skilling the skill providers is a catalytic step taken by QCI to achieve this goal. The 40+ member team at QCI comprises of young professionals, and they work tirelessly amongst aggressive timelines on desktop assessment, inspection coordination, guiding the inspectors on site, and performance and quality checks on the inspection report as the live data submitted through a mobile app capturing geotagged time-stamped images is streamed into the portal, enabling the validation of predefined requirements defined by the Sector Skill Council. Just to mention, in last 2 years, we were like 2 years back, we were a 100 people organization, and currently we have 250 plus. And that 150 people who have been added are all youngsters. So you can imagine that we are moving on, is handling more young crowd, and we are getting the work out of them. And the second area which I mentioned was the skill certification. You heard today in the morning introductory session what Mr. Jhan Krishna and Mr. Krishnan, Secretary MSDE, said about even Mr. Dholakia mentioned that the employability is directly depends on the type of institution you're coming out, and the your payment also is dependent on that, or a benchmark is set as soon as you say that I am from IIT or I am from IIM, immediately it sets the benchmark on the salary kind of thing. So how do you overcome this kind of a movement if you have a skilled manpower? So on ISO front, there is a ISO 17024, which is certification of persons. QCI is offering that to the certification bodies. So the first one we certified was the Indian Institute of Welding. So how do you define just a trivial welder to a precision welder? So as soon as you become 17024 certified welder, that means your mobility increases immediately, and you have a certain benchmark in your mind that this man is better skilled person than that. So the second ISO standard which we have offering is ISO 29990, which is for learning service provider. It is how do you separate yourself from one ITI from the other ITI. Currently, as I told you, that there are more than 60,000 plus ITIs which are there. So how do you benchmark those ITIs? So ISO 29990 is one such standard which QCI is offering. The other part which the last one which I just want to mention is on the BMOs, which is Business Membership Organization that we are into. And business membership organization is nothing but industry associations. So I would like to ask the audience, any guesses how many industry associations are there in our country? Any guesses? How many thousands? Sorry? No, it is 3,000. 3,000 industry associations are there in our country, 3,000. So how do you benchmark that? This is the thought which came in the mind of the Ministry of MSME. And why it came, I just tell you why. As per the 4th census of MSME report, for which was published in 2012, total number of MSMEs in India are 3.6 crores, employing over 8 crore people. It is the second largest employer after agriculture. It also accounts for 45% of total industrial production, 40% of total exports, and contributes very significantly to the GDP. The manufacturing segment within the MSME contributes to 7% of GDP. MSMEs also contribute to 30.5% of services. The total contribution of MSMEs to the GDP is 37.54%. And the MSMEs of India would be the cradle for the Make in India vision. Right? So how important is skilling and to plug into the MSMEs? Now I want to quote Mr. Sanjeeva, who showed one slide of a spider web, and he said in that spider web it was shown by the research person that India is highest on the innovation. And the speaker also said he had reservations on that. I beg to differ on that. I would say that that slide is correctly mentioned, and India is the highest pointers amongst all the parameters is definitely innovation. I'll tell you why. India, the Mangal Nayan, 16 satellites were launched in India, and it is a phenomena that lowest cost, and India has achieved. As soon as a rocket goes up, there is a lot of domino effect which starts happening, right? And you will believe me or not, 16 parts of that Mangal Nayan was made in MSMEs, right? And you can imagine those MSMEs are under 10 crore turnover. So definitely innovation has a very big role in India to play, and the Ministry of MSME has Similarly, you would not believe there are MSMEs in UP region which are into leather manufacturing. And those unknown MSMEs are producing products which cater to the top design products of the world, like high design is one of them, right? So those are the MSMEs which have to be fueled. The Ministry of MSME has acknowledged these facts and has channelized one of the highest funding of allocation, rupees 3,600 crores this year, and allocated for next year also 7,200 crores that has been allocated. Now, for us to be seen is how this money is to be channelized, right? Whether it goes to meets the right MSME and the MSME gets fueled or not. We in QCI just did, this scheme came into vogue in 2014. In 2015, we circulated to various ministries through our then secretary, Mr. Amitabh Kant, in 2016, 5th January 2016. Then secretary was Amitabh Kant, who wrote a letter to all the secretaries of Government of India for accrediting the industry associations, which I just said 3,000, right? This is early, like now we are in 2017. So far, 11 ministries acknowledge that we will push our stakeholder associations to take the accreditation. So far, we have about 38 associations who got accredited out of 3,000, right? But you know the Pareto principle, right? 20-80%, right? So the key associations, CII, ASSOCHAM, AIMA, AIMA is into your automobile manufacturing, and that is also an example of the world's best. The lowest cost and the world's best automobile is produced in India, right? So these have become accredited to us. And what it means is now we are leapfrogging to the next step. That is, we just did a workshop along with them, which is Industry 4.0. You all know now technology is going to be embraced quickly. It has to be embraced quickly. And all of the panelists today in the morning said we know what those areas are. Now it has to be quick adoption of that. What are those? Big data, autonomous robots, simulation, system integrators, IoT, which is Internet of Things, cyber security. You all saw the importance of cyber security just few days back, a week back you saw what is the threat which is looming at large. We need to plug those loopholes. The cloud computing, the additive manufacturing, which is going to bring in disruptive changes, and it is already happening in other parts of the country, and very soon it will catch up in India, and augmented reality. I'll stop at that. I'm open to questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Indrajit Banerjee. I would now request Sandhya Chintala, who's the Executive Director, Sector Skill Council, NASSCOM, and Vice President, NASSCOM, to share her views. Thank you.
It's not reflected. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just to hear you back. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here amongst you here today, but I'm going to be very focused to give you a bit of information on what we need to reinvent and in the age of disruption. My idea will be to actually talk to you about what these project management skills are, because I see amongst you people who are probably entrepreneurs, leaders, project management groups. Spot on. But you have heard that there is to be a change, but the question is, what is to be changed and how will you approach it? My point of view would be, I'm just going to give you about an advertisement you might see in the future. There was a huge front page newspaper cutting which showed a railway station. It showed the people in an assembly in government, and they also showed people in a meeting like this. One thing was absolutely, everybody was looking down and looking at their cell phones. There was one person in the crowd who was actually watching the others. So the headline said, hey, look, there's one person here who's watching the world. Literally, this is what we are. In this global connected world, the disruption is instantaneous. The leadership and the project management skills cannot be delayed. So what is it that you have to look at? In this new age, you are going to find 1 trillion objects will be connected in the next couple of years. More than 85% of the human people globally will be living in the urban cities. You will find that we are talking of transformable material transforms from one type to another. We will be connected in this era where we are talking about virtual workers, not physically going to a building to work. In this way, the way we live, learn, and work is going to be absolutely different. So then, how is it that technology will be a key enabler for you as a project management lead? You cannot learn everything, but you should understand the power of basically this technology that will work hand in glove with you. So this is just a little expose. So coming from the National Association of Software and Service Companies, which is the largest private employer of women, it has got up $154 billion to its credit today as revenue for over 20 billion subsectors, with revenues for about 20 billion, only 3 subsectors giving them. 1/4 share in total services, and it's created a global brand technology. The idea is to say, coming from this organization, what we are trying to say is there are multiple inflection points, and at every point, technology has taken the step forward, but it has become a possibility because the human resource led through project management skills has actually adapted to the change. So though we are today about 3.5 million human resource, and people you will hear in newspapers every day are losing jobs, it's because of the difficulty to change. It is also because the leaders have also not been able to enhance their skill sets, predict the requirements of change, so unnecessarily either people will have to reskill, or as had been earlier said by Richard, they have to move on. So, but we think by 2025, another 3 million people will be added, and this will be new job roles. So my thing is, today we stand at 154 billion, and we are aiming for 2025, with the addition of 3 more million people, to be at 350 billion, it will move on. And every year from 2009 to date, we have never missed a point. So this points of inflection will actually lead to a new BPM, IT BPM landscape. But this landscape which you see here as pointers will interact with agriculture, banking, telecom, media and entertainment, gem and jewelry, furniture making, beauty and wellness, healthcare. It can even be basically real estate, logistics, capital goods, say any space. As project managers, you have to understand technology will be everywhere. So how will you harness this? Having said this, you will find that the new areas will come up with the tech startups, creating employment opportunities. But even here, as a project management lead, how are you going to manage a new entrepreneurial process? E-commerce will create another 60,000 jobs in direct sector. Digital India will be a 2x multiplier. Tech skill imperative all across job roles, and a platform economy will create jobs unprecedented, unheard. But all of this, for you as a person who is wanting to know what are the project management skills, is very important to understand what is it that you have to harness to be able to live in this new age of technology. My friend before me has already given you a view, but saying this changing job scenario, I would like to give you another point of view. You have, of course, artificial intelligence. It has become a part with cognitive computing and machine learning. It has been integrated. If I were to look at the finance and accounting processes, it takes about, if I were to look at every step of an F&A process, whether it's a transactional process, an intermediate or a complex, or with inclusion of, say, business intelligence for banking, financial services, core scenarios, I can almost take away 38 to 48% of the labor intensive and replace it with machine learning, which increases the efficiency. So as a project management person, it's important for you to understand how this power can be enhanced to create efficiencies. How will you manage your human resource to basically merge and understand and work with a new age productivity? There's a new role called DevOps. It's actually software development, somebody who tests the process, and somebody who operationalizes. All of this is coming together to actually create a new ecosystem. So you have 3D printing, 4D printing, virtual reality, blockchain. Now blockchain has become so important because in the new WannaCry babies, actually everybody is being paid by Bitcoin. So do you understand Bitcoin? Do you understand what it means? And therefore you will be able to project manage that particular ecosystem. Big data analytics, of course, is all there, cloud computing and social media. Let me take you further. These 8 technologies will create 55 new core jobs, but it'll create another 3 million direct employment and about another 35 million jobs which will impact every other sector. So if you're a project management person in the agricultural space, do you understand the technology of DNA splicing? If you're in the healthcare sector, do you understand the project management principles of using robotic process automation for actually sitting here in India and for a doctor to do virtually an operation for somebody on Ghana? Even if it is a small midwifery Joe, everything is now analyzing data and making information available. So for you as a project manager, you have to understand the power of these technologies. I'm not saying go back and learn all this. It is wonderful if you are going to be a domain expert. But for a person of your age, sometimes for a person of your caliber and experience, you can better use and say, what is it that this new technology can do? How can I harness it for my company, for my state, for my government, for the country and the globe at large? Remember, big data computing, this is freeware. Please make information available to all your employees, to people who are interested, and we will shortly bring about new programs where competency in each of these areas, intersecting with every other industry sector, will be made available through the process that we have at this industry. Just to give you know, this was launched about 2 weeks ago, and we had 475 institutions and 40,000 hits on this, looking at it in just 10 minutes. Today it's almost have 270,000 times views on it. So you can understand the hunger and the interest for people to move, because they know that as a young population, or if they are academia, or if they are corporate, this is the future to be. So what we are trying to do is to put up an enabling process here. Most of the 50% of the employees in many of the leading companies have already been trained in this digital technology. So those who are losing jobs are basically those who are unable to comprehend, not willing to make the change, or basically don't have access to that information. So as a project management lead, whether you are a leader, a CEO, HR head, or if you are just basically anybody in government, it is a right for you at your level to basically make others available to this particular info so that they can use the skills. The new job roles now in this connected world, cyber is going to be everywhere. Literally, we are not talking of wearable devices. We are also talking of embedding those devices in you. So you will find that if you have a problem, we embed that device where your neural networks will respond very well. If you have a prosthesis, it's just made of metal, but with Internet of Everything, it's available. If you have a diabetic problem, we embed something onto your pancreas to actually manage the insulin, and you pay it like a postpaid card on the cloud. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a new era. It's exactly and excellently important that we actually respond to this. Let me give you a view of virtual reality. It can be in entertainment, it can be in manufacturing. You will find that every entrepreneur will need to have a UI, UX designer product. You will have to have a hardware engineer, a solution architect, you will have computer vision engineer, you will have 3D modeling engineers. We will be exploring this information and making it available for everybody to read, learn, and to move on. In addition to these 50, let me just talk about, say, BFSI. Suppose I have internet. A client is a car insurance company facing increasing fraud claims. The BPM company is now leveraging IoT sensor information from cars to generate reports for each claim. The job is to create, analyze sensor information and take decisions. This has led to an increase in detection of fraud claims. This is absolute importance for you to know how IoT works if you are actually a project management firm working with an insurance group for your banking sector. So you will find that the cross-pollination of technology and other industry sectors, the avenue will explode with just these few technologies. So it's absolutely, I would think, important for you to ride this wave. Having said this, directly about 1.5 to 2 million people will be trained, made available, and utilized. But you, in your own organization, need to understand and say, how do I harness these technologies to increase efficiency and to increase the scale, and absolutely, of course, to serve in a global marketplace. So what we are trying to do is also to develop this from our end. We invite people of your caliber to actually work with us. We will deliver to an online MOOCs program, self-instructional. We will provide it to universities, trainers, companies, and then we actually look for a new genre of people who are going to be made available. What I would like to end with and say is that the principles of project management are not being changed, but it is the collaboration with stakeholders. And ladies and gentlemen, it's very important to know that the collaboration now is just not going to be with humans in government, humans in companies, humans in colleges or the academia per se, but is also with machines. It's an interesting scenario. It's a lot to learn, a lot to change, but I think all of us are going to be living in an era where change is the only constant factor. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandhya.